Another day of jury deliberations at the Percoco corruption trial. But at the start of the day, it was looking like there could be one less juror before things actually got ironed out. Dominic Carter, he's in Lower Manhattan with the latest on the twists and turns of a bizarre case.
And good evening to you, Richard. No verdict, but two notes from the jury today. Preet Bharara, as U.S. Attorney, started this case. U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman inherited it. Mr. U.S. Attorney, do you have any comment on the Percoco case?
No comment, thank you.
You've been in the courtroom several days.
Thank you.
This note from the jury requesting a full transcript of the court's proceedings seemed to indicate that the jury is back in the thick of deliberations, but their request is not an easy one. The transcript is estimated to be about 6,000 pages long. One of the prosecutors, Janice Eckenberg, responded, quote, "It's possible, it's time-consuming." Judge Valerie Caproni told the jury, quote, "Logistically, it would be very time-consuming, measured in days to get you the entire transcript. Thank you for the note. Continue deliberating." The judge once again floated the idea to the legal teams of excusing juror number 7, who has cited child care issues, which would bring the jury down to 11 members. She threw the idea out again when the jurors left the room and then said, quote, "I'm seeing blank stares, which leads me to believe the answer is no. So for now, juror number 7 stays." The day ended on a humorous note when juror number 10 joked she's very popular with the justice system, explaining that while currently serving on this jury for over a month and a half, she received another jury summons asking her to report immediately. Judge Caproni wrote her an excuse letter. Attorney Milton Williams represents businessman Joe Girardi. What do you make of what's been going on at the trial here?
You know, I have no idea what's going on at this point. None whatsoever. You can't really read. It's hard to read juries, and I really can't read what's going on here at all.
What is going on with juror number 7, as far as your opinion, the way you see things?
As far as we can tell, she continues to deliberate, and there's no other insight I can give you on that subject.
And believe it or not, Richard, it was a week ago, last Thursday afternoon, that this jury started deliberating. We are back here again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Reporting from the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan, I'm Dominic Carter. Richard, let's go back to you in the studio.
All right, Dom, thank you. And of course, there's a political context to this. The trial is taking a toll on Percoco's former boss, Governor Cuomo, if you believe the polls. Governor Cuomo's heavy-handed tactics, fundraising practices, and more, they've been highlighted throughout this trial. And since the trial began, his approval rating, for whether it's coincidental or not, has fallen 9 points. However, it is still above 50%. And when New Yorkers were asked whether or not Cuomo should run for president, the vast majority said no, although I think a little bit too much gets read into that. Another corruption case, I should note, is also set to start this spring and also is not unattached to the chief executive. This time, former SUNY Polytechnic Institute president Alan Calarios, close enough, he'll be on trial. This one involves bid rigging at the Buffalo Billion Upstate Development Project that Cuomo championed. Governor isn't accused of anything in the case, but once again, he'll still be in the news throughout that trial as well. All right, first off, counselor, and it pains me to call you that, but I'm sorry, Judge Caproni, she runs a tight ship here. You had people that were showing up late to the court today. You have people saying before this last week, at 2 o'clock's my cutoff, I got to go home after that, I got childcare. And another person saying, you know what, I think I'm going to call it a day after today. The inmates are in the asylum here. What's going on?
Well, we can shoot the jurors. It'd be therapeutic.
I'm sorry, you took it over. You got to take this to the end.
Look, they were also told 4 to 6 weeks. It's going way over that. This has a human toll.
It's Con Ed's fault.
It's Con Ed's right. It's that same reasoning. They're doing their best, as jurors almost always do. It's a tough case.
If it goes from 12 to 11, I mean, and they somehow got a conviction, that thing would get thrown out, right?
They would need the permission of both the prosecution and the defense to do that. As you can tell, excuse me, that's not going to happen. the real question here, if there is a mistrial, is do they retry him and when?
Yeah.
Because what this means is this throws us over likely to the fall.
And just to remind us for the retrials, you've got coming up in April, Silver, and then thereafter in June you've got Skelos, and as I mentioned, there's the trial up in Buffalo. So do you think, I'm not saying wishful thinking, but do you really
you're
think
asking the right
that
guy.
any of this comes back to the governor? Because I said throughout this trial, I would have expected at the beginning of it, I'd hear the name Cuomo much more than I did.
Yeah.
It was a sidebar to it, but it wasn't the main course.
The numbers have definitely dropped, and I think upstate more than downstate. But Richard makes a terrific point. You would think.
Don't say that.
No, you know.
Come on,
Yeah.
man.
No, but you would
Let's hear it.
you would think it would be good news for the governor if this went into a mistrial, but it's just the opposite. It's because they're going to probably retry it. I assume that they will, and we're going to go through this all over again on top of those trials. It can't be what Governor Cuomo wants to see.
But you think people in upstate are paying rapt attention to the Joe Percoco trial, and that's why the governor's numbers have dipped?
They're paying more attention.
I think
spending a lot of time up there.
Wishful thinking.
They
I
are.
think these things are in flux. I think the only time you'll see an impact from this trial on Cuomo is when you get to September, October, and the Republican nominee for governor starts hammering Cuomo.
People upstate tend to watch state news more because you're not dominated by New York City
This
news.
is corrosive in the
work
long
up there a
run.
lot.
In the short run, it's not responsible for a 9-point drop.
Okay,
in
but you
his
know what, Andrew, just
approval
on a bigger
ratings.
thing, tomorrow I'm involved in an event at Pace Law where they're really looking in the aftermath of the McDonald case, the then Virginia governor who was in his own corruption probe. Supreme Court ruled and basically redefined, without any clear definition, what political corruption is anymore. This is the fifth one or something since then. A lot of them in our backyard. I got to tell you, I give up. I don't know what it is anymore. And Percoco, I would argue, of all of them, was the least cut and dry, I would argue. But between Menendez, Spitzer, Skelos, and the rest, you know, for a guy who does this for a living, it's really been distressing, if not distasteful here, what is somehow acceptable now.
And it leads to the public's belief that everything is corrupt in
Yep.
politics and that money is buying every vote. And we hear this in arguments too. You know, the NRA has bought the Republican Party when it comes to guns. I mean, have they really bought them, or are they just applying
Guys
pressure?
are mixing up a lot of stuff that needs to be separate. Legal corruption, campaign finance, is what's at the heart of the public loss of confidence. The question of whether individuals have committed crimes.
No, Richard,
is different.
I'll have the question more acute, okay? You're right, this all started really with Citizens United, or certainly that was the accelerant to it. But more specifically, since McDonald, you can legally pay for access to a politician as long as the politician and the giver are shrewd enough not to say, I'm giving you this and you're going to give me that. No. Time out. McDonald got 175 grand in gifts, trips, and loans
You
here.
have to
And
do
wait a minute.
something in receipt of the money.
And I'm sorry. If that's our new standard here,
That's
where
the
I can give you
old
money as an
standard.
elected standard,
That's the old
and now
standard.
I have to prove that you got something out of it? No.
Well, yes. How about
that
that?
is- that is really
That is the old
distasteful.
standard. Bribery is you take something and you do something. That is the
Well,
traditional
I'm sorry.
way.
Shelley
That's
Silver
the-
did something for
what
the money.
did he do?
Dean Skelos did something
What
for the
did he
money.
do?
McDonald did something
What
for the
did he
money.
do? That's the
Shelley
whole point.
Silver?
Yes.
He used the taxpayer money and he funneled it magically into a fund that went to his law firm. And I'm
That's
sorry.
not true.
Of course it's
That's
true.
not a description of the facts. Look,
It's common sense, and most
Oh,
people agree with
please,
you
you're
on that.
complicating it
It's
more than
common
it is.
sense. You see it happening
it's
before
the
your
American
eyes.
justice system. You're presumed innocent, and you have to have proof by the government that somebody did something wrong.
Money should not
Otherwise, you
flow
end up
into
with
a-
the Duke lacrosse team and Bob
Oh,
Menendez.
yeah, Stop that.
you were
That's
talking about- You were talking about the
ridiculous.
distinction between legal corruption and illegal corruption.
That
and-
I agree with.
But there's
It's
a distinction.
corruption.
It's corruption. It's whether it's done legally or whether it's done illegally.
But the public image of this is that people trade government actions for political contributions. They do when it's legal.
I'm sorry. Should Bob Menendez, who's a friend to this program, should he have acted on behalf of his friend, who, by the way, is making political contributions? Should he have gone above and beyond like he did to secure visas and to help him with his problems?
didn't.
Is that what we, the
was not
constituents?
persuaded he went above and beyond. You're yelling at the jury, man. You don't think
You know
that-
why
it
I'm
was the
yelling at the
hotel
jury?
rooms about
I'm
me.
yelling at McDonald would put the jury in a box.
No.
If it
You've-
looks and smells like corruption, it's corruption.
That's not the American way.
Oh,
the American way
God.
is you need proof not your nose.
How about evidence?
As defined. There was no evidence.
Dean Skelos. Okay, Dean Skelos, his numbskull kid, is leaning on people that the old man set up to say, basically, help out Doofus here, okay? Doofus basically used the old man's official status and somehow, some way got contracted. That's not an abuse of power.
An abuse of power is not always a crime. Yes, it's an abuse of power.
Do you look at what you're rationalizing that should be legal?
I'm not rationalizing it. It stinks. It's not acceptable. But whether we put people in jail and
don't tell me
deprive
it's
them
not
of
the
their
American
liberty,
way. Somehow it's gotten
the American way.
Maybe we should just change the law.
They tried that, and the Supreme Court has said you have to show an
And you know what?
actual act.
The Supreme Court definitely got it wrong, in my opinion.
Unanimously.
Coming up next.
Clarence Thomas and Ruth Ginsburg.
Yeah, okay.
But not Richard French.
No, and I'm right on this one. Coming up next, yet another round in the feud between Cuomo and de Blasio. It goes from the inane to the ridiculous. We'll explain how an actress who might run against the governor prompted just the latest spat.